Welcome back, everybody. Special tribute edition on my channel today. Before I get started though, I want to make a couple of shout outs. Many of you may know of the tragedy that happened to vinyl community member Steve Carlson. I'll try and put a link to his channel down below. Had his entire record collection, 50 years worth of memories, music, basically wiped out in a flood in his basement. There's been a GoFundMe account set up to help him out with various expenses, possibly looking toward rebuilding his collection. But I just want to say, Steve, we're with you. You have our thoughts and prayers. You're an inspirational human being to deal with this situation with the poise and the class and the strength that you have. So we are with you, Steve. Also want to give a shout out to a relatively new channel in the vinyl community that I've been enjoying the last several weeks. Pat over at Music Head. He's from a Caribbean background, grew up in the West Indies as I understand it, definitely conversant with the music styles of the Caribbean, but also very knowledgeable about jazz, hip-hop, rock, all different genres. He speaks very well in his videos. Hasn't been doing this all that long, I don't think, but a couple of months maybe, but definitely been enjoying his videos, and to make his acquaintance, cheers Pat, needs much more subscribers, so please check his channel out. The music losses seem to be piling up fast and furious in these months. It's getting hard to keep up with. Every day I seem to wake up to the news that some other artist who's represented in my collection has passed. A couple of reggae ones hit this week. First off, the singer Nagle Morris, also known as Dolphin Morris, passed away earlier this week. He was a singer born in Jamaica, started recording in various groups around the late 1960s. He was working at Studio One, working at Treasure Isle in those years. Later went on to join groups like the Morwells and Roy Cousins' Royals, for whom he appears on albums like Israel Be Wise. He's credited with writing the classic Royals tune If You Want Good, written by Nagle Morris, as well as appearing on their 10 Years After LP. These are all late 1970s. Group vocal Nagle Morris. In 1975, following the departure of lead singer Leroy Sibbles, he was tapped to join the Heptones vocal group, one of the top flight Jamaican harmony groups, and that would begin a association with the later lineup of the Heptones, which would run off and on for many years. It definitely appears on their Better Days album, produced by 90 The Observer. Nagle Morris passed away at the age of 72, also recorded a mini showcase for the Bronx-based Wackies label. Horace Andy meets Nagle Morris. Got a couple of songs on there. For Joe Gibbs' label, he recorded a couple of hits, including Ja Guide and Susu Pon Rasta. This is from the Joe Gibbs 12-inch Reggae Disco Mix series, Volume 2. Recorded a song called Susu Pon Rasta for Joe Gibbs, which was voiced over by the gruff-voiced DJ Prince Farai as Under Heavy Manners, and became a classic all over again. Passed away at the age of 72 from cancer. He had exhausted his finances, apparently, treating the disease. His family has started up a GoFundMe to cover burial expenses. I'll try and put a link to that down below. Also, news came this week that the reggae producer Bobby Digital Dixon, Robert Dixon, had passed away at the relatively young age of 59 from kidney disease, apparently. He was a reggae producer who began in the 1980s, part of a direct line of producers that goes all the way back to King Tubby's. Bobby Digital had begun his forays into music as through electronics repair, radio and TV repair, as many of these guys seem to do from the technical electronic side of things. James Griffiths and I were just commenting on that recently. Seems to be a common thread with these guys getting into it from that end, especially in reggae. Bobby Digital, another one. Got into electronics repair, and then in 1985 entered into the music business for real, going to work for producer Lloyd James, aka Prince Jammy, in 1985. In 1985, Prince Jammy was set to turn the reggae world on its ear. Some of his engineers working under him had created a completely digital-based rhythm built around a Casio preset loop which they had, it was a rock riff that they had taken, slowed it down and tinkered with, and created a completely digital-based rhythm, which a singer called Wayne Smith voiced over. That song, called Slang Tang, which would give its name to the rhythm track they'd created, which would be redone by many other artists, hundreds of versions, set the reggae world on its ear, started a digital revolution as other producers scrambled to create their rhythms that way. Bobby Digital landed at Prince Jammies just as all this was happening, was kicked off a hotbed of, became a hotbed of production, scrambling to keep up with demand as the digital revolution overtook reggae and saw Prince Jammy promoted to King Jammy. Bobby Digital soon proved, and he got his nickname from arriving at King Jammies at that time as the digital era was starting. Proved to be apt in all areas of record production and rose through the ranks of engineers to become one of Jammy's top men, right-hand man. Just for example here, the classic dancehall singer Frankie Paul's Casanova LP, recorded at King Jammies on the classic blue and white Jammies label, iconic label of the mid to late 80s, as Jammies was ubiquitous in the reggae world, pretty well the #1 producer. Engineers, Bobby Digital. So a key factor in King Jammy's production in those years. Soon, by the late 1980s, Bobby had set out on his own, starting his Heatwave sound system and also the Digital B label, his own label, named after himself, Bobby Digital, Digital B. He had forged some key relationships from his time at King Jammies that would hold him in good stead as he started out production on his fully on his own. For first starters, with the bass and drum duo of Steely and Clevie, Wycliffe Steely Johnson and Cleveland Clevie Brown, who were kind of the digital era equivalent of Sly and Robbie on bass and drum, but utilizing more electronics-based instruments. Also with session musicians like the Firehouse grew, and all these aggregations would be, as the digital era fully kicked in, they would be working to create rhythm tracks more up-to-date as far as technology, but also harking back to previous eras of reggae, bringing back old rhythm tracks. Versioning would become highly prevalent in Jamaica at this time. By rhythm track, I mean the basic music backing track, which can be re-recorded, redone, revoiced over by different artists. Bobby Digital would be proved to have a great facility for this, picking rhythm tracks to be redone over and updated with a new lick of paint with the new contemporary sound, as crafted by people like Steely and Clevie and the Firehouse crew, and voiced over by a mix of veteran and up-and-coming artists. Some of those artists that he forged a link with at Jammies were the dancehall singer Coco T, who he had a long off-and-on collaboration with. One of his first productions under his own in his very early days, around 1987, was a song called Lonesome Side, which was sung by Coco T. That song used the rhythm from Junior Biles' Fade Away, a classic hit from the mid-1970s, originally done at Channel 1, recut the rhythm track with the digital sound of the late 1980s and had the new generation of artists voice it over. That song appears on Coco T's Come Love Me album, appearing in 1995, but that song, Lonesome Side, recorded earlier and produced by Bobby Digital Dixon, here appearing on VP record label. Another song utilizing that same rhythm track, in fact the DJ counteraction, the DJs are the rappers, was another singer he had forged a link with at Jammies, or singer, DJ rather, named Shabba Ranks, here credited as Shabba Ranking. He also went on that Fade Away rhythm track that Coco T had voiced and did a DJ version as Peeny Peeny. That's the classic yellow digital B label, mark of quality in reggae. 1987 is the year. This became a hit for Shabba Ranks. He would have many other hits with Shabba as they forged a long-running off-and-on partnership. Hits like Wicked in Bed. You can tell the slackness component. Slackness is sexually explicit lyrics. That song is pretty tame compared to some of these songs that were coming out at this time as slackness. These explicit lyrics became very prevalent as the DJs became more prominent, had more of a facility with the digital rhythms maybe. The DJs took over from the singers who had dominated reggae for many years. Beginning in the dancehall era, the DJs took over. Bobby Digital would move to bring quality singers like Coco T back, bringing back those musical values from the past. While it would maybe be an oversimplification to call Bobby Digital a traditionalist, having arrived at jammies when he did, as this musical upheaval was taking, with new technology being brought in, with digital rhythms being created, he certainly stood for bringing quality to his productions, quality in the lyrics, in the message being put forth, and in the music tracks that were being created. Coco T, always a quality singer that Bobby Digital worked with. Another up-and-coming singer was Sanchez, often called a lovers rock singer. Lovers rock, more of a UK phenomenon, but Sanchez definitely known for his love songs primarily. I Can't Wait caught him at his exuberant early days and produced by Bobby Digital Dixon. I Can't Wait, the song, rode John Holt's A Love I Can Feel rhythm track, originally done at Studio One, late 1960s, early 1970s. It's the 45. I should note, I was buying many of these 45s in the 1990s, was still the medium of choice for new reggae being released, although it had the format had fallen out of favor on the island itself. Internationally, collectors and DJs still wanted the 45s, and there were many coming out at that time. Further hits with the veteran singer Half Pint, 1990, moving up to 1992 here. Substitute Lovers was a hit for the dancehall singer Half Pint, who had started in the early 1980s. Beginning in 1991, Bobby Digital, as well as working with the gruff-voiced DJs of their era, like Ninja Man, like Shabba Ranks, like Admiral Bailey, he would begin promoting even more cultural singers. There was a real reaction to this slackness that had taken over in the late 1980s, and a new wave of artists came up who were bringing back roots and culture themes, a stronger lyrical message, and the singers made a strong resurgence. One of the figureheads of this movement was a young singer named Garnet Silk, who had been born Garnet Smith. Bobby Digital caught him at a very crucial phase of his career, recorded a song with him called It's Growing in 1991, and this is an original pressing, still credited to Garnet Sims, better known as Garnet Silk. It's Growing would be a classic hit, utilizing the Heptones Gonna Fight rhythm from the Heptones vocal group. Studio One again, 1960s. Gave its name to Garnet Silk's debut LP, produced by Bobby Digital, earned Garnet Silk a major label contract with Atlantic Records, and he was poised for great international success, was being hailed as the next Bob Marley. Unfortunately, in 1994, he was killed in a freak accident, cutting off a promising career short. But that cultural movement, that moved to more traditional musical values, away from the hard digital rhythms, and to more cultural themes, continued with his mantle being taken up by a whole generation of artists. In 1995, Bobby Digital updated Ernest Wilson's Undying Love rhythm for a series of singles. I was listening to these at the time on my local community radio station. They would play these songs over and over again, nice up the airwaves every time. I was so stoked to finally own these on 45. One of them was Rainbow by Nadine Sutherland, Undying Love rhythm, and one of the hosts of that radio show is Nadine Sutherland's uncle. The other one was a cousin of Aston Family Man Barrett and his brother Carly of the Wailers band, Bob Marley and the Wailers. And I was also really stoked to find the Rhythm CD. This was the era when, these producers would release multiple songs on the same rhythm track. Could be 10 or 12 versions of this rhythm, and they could be collected in an album, a one rhythm album. This was Digital Blend Volume 2. I found this CD in Walmart, of all places. Included all those tunes on the Undying Love rhythm, but for some reason it leaves off one of my favorites, Born Again by Mikey Spice. Another one of those songs they would play over and over again on that radio show. Following on From the loss of Garnet Silk, the reggae world continued with this roots and culture, Rastafari renaissance. Bobby Digital began working with a vocal group called Morgan Heritage, who were the sons and daughters of a reggae singer called Denroy Morgan, based kind of partly between the US and Jamaica. They had kind of had a false start with a debut album. He took them under his wing and put out a song called Protect Us Jah. Morgan Heritage, Digital B label, white version this time. This rode an updated cut of Bob Marley's Heathen Rhythm. Further tracks would be recorded with Bobby Digital. 1999 we're going up to here. You Don't Have to Dread to Be Rasta, Morgan's Heritage, resulted in the LP Protect Us Jah by Morgan Heritage, sons and daughters of Denroy Morgan, bringing back the harmony vocal tradition, which had fallen out of favor in reggae for many years, and also bringing those roots and culture themes. The roots and culture side of reggae, when Bobby Digital came in, was maybe not dead, but was could be said to be on life support, made a strong resurgence in the 1990s as reggae entered what I would call a mini golden age. And Bobby Digital, one of the prime producers of this era, top three, I would say. Morgan Heritage, again, many of these songs by Morgan Heritage played many times on the radio when I was just getting into reggae. The Don't Have to Dread album. They would go on to win a Grammy not that long ago, finally. First couple of albums produced with Bobby Digital. His collaboration with Shabba Ranks would continue to be fruitful. Shabba Ranks got a major label deal in the early 1990s with Sony Epic. He would also go on to win Grammys for his albums, partly produced by Bobby Digital. Bobby Digital would, in the late 1990s, would put out the Ketty drum rhythm, bringing that Nyabingi flavor of percussion back, and voiced a song called Holy Mount Zion by that his old collaborator Coco T. Coco T would appear in combination with DJ Shabba Ranks. The combination fashion would take hold in the 1990s with the singer and the DJ, aka the rapper, appearing on the same song together. This would appear as Flag Flown High, Digital B label, riding that Ketty drum rhythm, 1995. That song would give its title to a fantastic compilation of Bobby Digital's work, which would appear in 2002 from the Maximum Pressure label, Flag Flown High, Bobby Digital there himself. This is a compilation of his Roots productions, Flag Flown High, that title track. I was so stoked to find that on 45. These songs mean a lot to me. They were what was the reggae that was on the air when I first got into it, was first discovering it. It had a clear lineage back to the glory days of roots and culture of the 1970s and earlier, bringing those values forward into the new era, new sound, a new generation of artists. Another one of those tunes I discovered on that compilation, Praise His Name, Junior Tucker, one of Jamaica's child stars. You can see him as a little kid in the Heartland Reggae movie, Michael Jackson influenced. Moving forward, I was buying many of these 45s that I was listening to on the radio. They were still pumping, Jamaica was still pumping out 45s at a furious rate. 2003, jumping forward, Coco T appeared with Cannot Be Real on the Digital B label. This rode an update of the Queen Majesty rhythm from the Rocksteady days. And DJ Sizzla appeared with an unusually pensive tune, Just One of Those Days. Sizzla, another dancehall DJ Bobby Digital worked with. I think he produced the classic Black Woman and Child. Another favorite, reviving the classic Vanity, aka I'm Just a Guy rhythm track. Shabba Ranks again, When You're Up, You're Up. 2004 this is. These were some of the last Reggae 45s I bought. Also, Half Pint appearing on the same rhythm track, So Many Lovers. I like these tunes so much I bought extra copies of them to keep mint. Still have them, still like those tunes today. Classic tunes from kind of an underappreciated era of Jamaican music. So much classic songs coming out. Many of them can be had very cheap compared to their musical value, I feel. I'm going to leave you with a Bobby Digital production, AJ Brown, tune called Reggae Music. Bobby Digital production. Reggae just to bust the place. Reggae music made for the healing of the nation. Bobby Digital understood that. Rest in peace. Sound of reggae music moving forward in the 2000s. Bobby Digital. Peace, vinyl community.